Welcome to another episode in our Contested Collections online programme. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, these are monthly sessions hosted by a member of the collections team here at Warrington Museum and Art Gallery. During the session, we will build upon the narratives explored by Susan Stockwell's exhibition, Hidden Histories and Untold Stories, and take a closer look at some of the hidden histories and untold stories that the objects from our ethnology collection can tell us. Today we will look at some items from the museum's collections which were used by the Ashanti people of Ghana. These include some clay pipe heads and a wooden stool. The clay pipe heads show two different designs. One is shaped like a bird attacking a snake, whilst the other is shaped like a shell. In the coastal area of present-day Ghana, the Ashanti people lived as what was termed the Golden Tribe. From the early 17th century onwards, the Ashanti were accustomed with tobacco and had developed the habit of smoking. The Dutch, as well as the Portuguese, introduced tobacco as a trade commodity in exchange for gold and other items. Soon the Ashanti became heavy smokers and developed their own tobacco pipe tradition. Pipe smoking was particularly popular on the south coast of Ghana. The Ashanti traditionally made their clay tobacco pipes using red clay, which was baked. The shapes of the pipes were designed to strict rules. For example, the bowl of the pipe had to have a pot, bowl or beaker shape. The pot shape should be derived from a cooking pot shape, and the beaker from the wooden mortar used to pulver corn. The bowl was normally placed on a foot and the stem was a heavy conical shape, often flattened off. Once constructed, the clay pipes were baked in a simple field kiln fired with wood. The second object that we will look at today is a wooden stool. The example that is in the collections at Warrington Museum is not thought to have belonged to anyone of great superiority or importance, and it was believed to have been used for everyday purposes. Each Ashanti person would have had a stool carved for them, which nobody else would be allowed to sit on, as it was believed to have contained the personal power of the owner. The golden stool has been a symbol of power in Ashanti kingdoms since the 17th century. According to oral tradition, a high priest and one of the two founders of the Ashanti Confederacy conjured the golden stool, decorated with golden bells, and caused it to descend from the sky, where it landed at the feet of the first king of Ashanti. It is from this moment that the Ashanti people believe that the golden stool houses the soul of the Ashanti nation. In appearance, the stool is made from gold. It stands at 18 inches in height, 24 inches in length, and 12 inches in width. It was never allowed to touch the ground and was considered so sacred that no one was allowed to sit on it. Each new Ashanti king is lowered and raised over the golden stool without touching it. No one can be considered as a legitimate ruler without the golden stool, which usually occupied its own throne next to the Ashanti king. The Ashanti maintained the golden stool as their most prized possession. Before they went to war, their war chiefs consulted it. As time progressed, and as the Ashanti scored more victories, the golden stool became more revered. There is a very well-known battle in Ashanti culture known as the War of the Golden Stool, which comprised of a series of conflicts between the United Kingdom and the Ashanti Empire. In 1900, the Ashanti staged an uprising which the British suppressed, and this led to the British capturing the city of Kumasi. The final outcome was the annexation of Ashanti by the British. The Ashanti Empire was a pre-colonial state that emerged during the 17th century in what is now Ghana. They were an ethnic subgroup composed of small chiefdoms. The Ashanti live in an extended family in various homes or huts which have a central courtyard. The head of the household is usually the eldest brother that lives there. He is called the housefather and obeyed by everyone. To the Ashanti, the family and the mother's clan are the most important. A child is said to inherit the father's soul or spirit, and from the mother the child receives flesh and blood. This relates them more closely to their mother's clan. The Ashanti religion is a mixture of spiritual and supernatural powers. They believe that plants, animals and trees have souls. They also believe in fairies, witches and forest monsters. The Ashanti also practice many ceremonies for birth, marriages and death. Their villages are social as well as economic units. Everyone participates in the major ceremonies, the most frequent of which are funeral ceremonies, which can last several days. The Ashanti people have always been known as fierce fighters, and they even have a slogan: "If I go forward I die, if I go backward I die, better go forward and die." When the Ashanti were faced with war, they used drums to signal the upcoming battle. Today the Ashanti people live in central Ghana in the rainforest of West Africa, approximately 150 miles from the coast. The Ashanti are a major ethnic group of the Akans and the largest tribe in this area, which covers approximately 9,400 square miles, with a population of about 1 million. We know from the clay pipe heads discussed earlier that tobacco smoking was an important part of Ashanti culture. The Gold tribe of the Ashanti prepared the tobacco leaves by leaving them to dry in the sun. They were rubbed with their hands and the chips were formed into a roll with water. Plant juice was also used as a binder. For most pipe smokers, smoking was primarily a group event intended for moments of rest and relaxation. Tobacco originally came from the New World, supplied by European sailors either directly from Brazil or via a European country. The earliest mention of smoking comes from the English captain William Finch, who visited Sierra Leone in 1607. He discovered there that tobacco was grown at almost every hut. It's not known when tobacco was introduced to Ghana, although it will have been much later than in nearby Sierra Leone. In 1705, written evidence records that the local population was smoking tobacco and spent their last penny on it. The size of the tobacco pipes vary, as can be seen by the many examples that still survive. They range from less than a thimble for the smallest specimen to one comparable to a normal Western European braai bowl for the standard sizes. Different sizes of bowls can be used for different types of tobacco. The tobacco pipe in Ashanti culture clearly played an important role, both for men and for women. Important members of the Ashanti even had their own servant who would assist with smoking, these known as pipe keepers. Their role was to pack the pipe, light it and monitor it. In other words, they would accompany the entire smoking process. We know that collectors and museums soon took an interest in the Ashanti pipeheads, with records showing one entering the collections of the British Museum in 1817. Pipes were also found in private collections. In fact, the famous pipe collector William Bragg from Sheffield illustrates several of these in his notebooks and handwritten letters. Additional to the clay pipe heads, the Ashanti also made metal versions, which predominantly served as status symbols. The famous golden Ashanti pipe of King William I is a good example, and these were given as gifts from king to king. The British Empire engaged with the Ashanti people on several occasions. These are now known as the Anglo-Ashanti Wars. In total, there were 5 battles during the 19th century, culminating in the final battle of 1900, which saw the British burning the capital of the Ashanti Empire. The wars were mainly caused by Ashanti attempts to establish a stronghold over the coastal areas of Ghana, and the local tribes in the coastal areas relied upon the British forces to protect them from Ashanti colonisation. So that's the end of this month's session. Next time we'll be looking at some objects from our North American collection. Of particular interest to this session will be items used or produced by the Inupiat, a name meaning real people, and these were a group of people that inhabited the northwest area of Alaska and the Bering Straits. The Inupiat relied heavily upon the environment in which they lived for the natural resources to produce their everyday wares, and they often used parts of animals found in the area, such as dolphin bones and seal claws. We'll also touch on the current threats that the Inupiat face with regards to their environment being overexploited by large corporations, wishing to generate money from the natural oil reserves that are located in the area.